So how's it going, Marco? Glad to have you on the stream after it's was supposed to have you on last week, but we had to reschedule. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you accommodating that. But I wanted to talk branded with you because you recently did very well over at the Dutch Nationals with branded. And you had a very good list, and I wanted to kind of just use that as a discussion point. I'm not sure. Did you do a formal deck profile? I'm not sure if
hmm
there's one that we can point people to.
No, not yet. I'm planning to release it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck, but like you can upload your deck up to top 16, so we'll have to make it separately.
I hope they just see this video and they take the deck list from here. Sometimes they do that, so maybe save you some work. um,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, so we'll talk about your deck list and we'll talk about your run and then maybe just talk about branded in general
hmm
because I generally think branded's a pretty good option right now. I have to ask, like, what is your history with branded? Like what brought you to bringing branded to the Dutch Nationals?
So I'm playing the deck since ever. Like it's been 2 3 years that I'm playing only branded, like nothing else. I am also on White Forest Azamina because I like Lord decks, but I don't know, losing to draw sometimes it's just too hard. And branded guys, this format is crazy because draw doesn't do that much to us. Charm is as well. Like my plan against one in one game against White Forest, indeed, I got double Fuvalos and Ash on Branded Fusion, and I just did the lock.
Yep. So,
So yeah, that's fine.
yeah, no, that's actually a real. I haven't had anyone
Um,
articulate it for that point, but like in particular with Droll and Mulcharmies just
uh-huh.
being way better than Effect Veil or Imperm, people opting not even to run these cards because they don't do enough against the best decks. You know, when we are literally probably the
Exactly.
most resilient deck into those hand traps, that makes a lot of sense to me.
We are like the only problem for us is of course Ash, as always, and now Dominus Impulse because Dominus Impulse of the deck. Like my first 2 games against Malice were ridiculous. I got Imperm on Aluber and Impulse on Branded Fusion, and my Trust in hand was completely dead.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that sucks. That sucks a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately with Impulse more in the meta, you'll just get those games where like, sometimes you'll get those imperm pass hands anyways, so just like Impulse just like exacerbates that a little bit, but I think outside of that it's like, there's a lot of decks not running Impulse and it's also just not like,
hmm
there's a lot of ways to still play through it. So I think
Yeah,
like I see you running the branded and high spirits. I see you running Spriggan's kit. And I see you running the Ido. So we'll definitely be talking about that because you
yeah.
mentioned that you were locking through hand traps, which is something that like I'm seeing branded players like this season. Branded players are kind of split on locking or not because we just had two
hmm
Greek
hmm
tops who did not run the lock. They felt like it was a little bit
I
more
saw
weak.
them.
Yeah, yeah, and then we have your list, and then we also had I think it was top 16 Venezuela nationals. Maybe it was a top eight.
hmm
That was a branded list that also opted to run the lock. So I think like there's evidence to suggest that it's good, and but maybe you don't have to run it. So we'll have to talk about that though because I think you
Yeah.
mentioned there was like you said there was a game against White Forest that if you didn't have the lock, you might not have been able to win. Like I mentioned actually in my deck profile, if you get double Fualos, I feel like the lock is the
It's
only
tough.
line that doesn't lose you the game. I feel like in that
Yeah,
situation.
exactly. Like
Um,
suppose that you want to go for I don't know for the lad line, right? So you special summon Albion, then you tribute for Lubellion, but that summon gives 2 draws, and those 2 draws can be anything. And depending on the matchup, I don't think lad is always the win condition as the lock is. So that's why I prefer to play the lock, especially in this meta because the best decks like Malice and the others are not playing bestials. So you're not that scared to get bestials on the lock in some strange lines where you cannot set up the loss protection. So I think it's really solid. I do agree with, I don't remember if it was Mario or Vasilis in one of your chat with them, it's I think like going second, maybe I would side out the lock for like some board breaker. So yeah, but going first, definitely you need to run it. Either because like it's a safe option on time, it's a safe option on against a lot of end traps. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, and so I guess that leads us into the fact that you were running branded banishment, but you were not running the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. What brought you to
Exactly.
those decisions? Were you like, I just value the second Jade here over the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord, or like, the Starving Venom? In these slots, that because I ran one Jade
Hmm.
personally, like in but you are running the Bashman. You were saying that Bashman, I believe, in your
Yeah.
breakdown on the group was good without the lad. So maybe if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's lovely. Like, so first of all, I am super scared not playing the second Mirror Jade. Like, it's our Bones monster, right? And it's one of the strongest card, like, still available in Yu-Gi-Oh. So running one, like, there are games in which definitely is enough, but there are some others where, while maybe if you had it, you can win the game, right? So I think two is still needed. Maybe with the new supports in the future, who knows, we can cut it to one. But so far, I mean, this is my personal opinion, modest opinion. I still prefer running two. Um, Regarding banishment, so I was expecting to this national a lot of malice, Mitsurugi. So basically, banishment is just a free super poly in the opponent turn without discarding one, and that brings one free body on our field that can be anything. Like suppose that like you have any Despia monsters or any fusion monster in grave, you just special summon it back, and then you fuse the opponent field with banishment, and you bring back I don't know a Starving Venom. And doing this against Malice, guys, it's like it's super good to see. Like they can impulse us, that's fine. But when there is lost on the field and you go branded banishment, you fuse two bodies and they cannot activate. And remember it, they cannot activate the malice name effects in the when they're banished because of lost. And you bring Starving Venom, like most likely it's just game.
Oh, that's a really good point too. Where yeah, like that's the thing. If you just banish these malice cards under loss, it does not matter. So yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Exactly,
That like banishment has a ton of
exactly.
utility over just like making lad, right? Like people ran banishment for a reason before lad came out.
Exactly, exactly. Or like just suppose that you are running late on time, and I don't know, 5 minutes left. You side in a masquerade, and then you have any names plus one name in the opponent field. You bring masquerade, and then you remove one name from the opponent field, and then you put the tax dragon. This won me a game as well.
Yeah, that's actually a situation that happened with me too, where like banishment just makes like max masquerade for free a lot of the time, especially when you're just like bringing back your mirror jade. So that's a really good point. And then I guess I have to ask you about the starving venom. Do you
Hmm.
feel did it come up for you? Like I know you said you lost the two malice games, but was it like did
Yes.
it come in up in those situations? Did it come up more in the Mitsurugi situations? Because when I look at starving venom, I'm like there's a ton of value there off of like going into a pure Mitsurugi board against that card, but like you'll
Hmm.
tell me.
So it came out like every single game against dark decks. So the first game with Malice I lost because as I told you, got impulse and imperm, so like could do nothing. But the second game I got Fuvaros, so I did the bare minimum, set up banishment, some good interruptions like Quem and Albats in grave, and that was enough because two Malice names were banished, so Starving Venoms came out, and then as soon as the opponent special summon from the extra deck and other monsters, Quem Reborn Albats go into Mirror Jade. So you see, like it's kind of like a super poly control. You play a lot with the opponent fields, removing all the names when you can. And against Mitsurugi, guys, it's like a free win. I'm not saying I like Mitsurugi. I appreciate that it's one of the strongest deck right now, especially like the pure, because it can play impulse, it can play a lot of flex. But when they end up with the Bones monster and the other ritual, the one that special summon, and you go super poly, then that's it.
Yeah,
Like
they can't
empty
do
field.
anything, and that's actually huge in
Yeah.
that situation because the futsu is usually just like free value for them that you just kind of have to eat. Like it feels bad. Like you have to like either droplet it or they just get back infinite crackback.
Yeah.
That if you don't like lock them or kill them, you're kind of in a bad
Yeah.
situation. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And then also like it makes them have to choose with the prayers because I've heard some people say like, oh, like Super Poly's not good into Mitsu because of prayers, but I feel like it really just like ends up it forces their interactions and then you can kind of deal with
Yes.
it as it is way better on your time than their time.
And like the pure, I'm sure that the pure is playing two of the Mitsurugi Bones monsters, but most of the Raziel list are playing only one. And there were a couple of times where I was testing that one Sanctifier was enough because the you force them to tribute summon the big monster. Sorry guys, I cannot pronounce the name of it. And then once he hit the grave, you special summon back on your side of the field, and then then it stays there forever, and they lose it. So basically, you shut down completely the whole engine, and this is super strong against like Raziel Mitsu.
Yes, yes. So okay, I see. I was like seeing if I had to actually run it or not. It's one of those cards that I do just think like most branded players who have been doing well this format have consistently said is a very good factor like to have in your deck. So
Mhm.
that's good
Yeah,
to also hear you confirm that. I would also have to ask, I think, in terms of the main deck, like, you know, there's a couple other things, but did you ever feel like, you know, the not like were you happy with the non-engine lineup running like the three droplets, three super polys? Like, would you ever added more like Molcharmies, or were you pretty happy like, you know, seeing any combination of, you know, droplet and super poly even against like certain decks? Um like I was
yeah. So
thinking of like
starting from the
Mermail or
Charmies,
something. You might want more Charmies, but you tell me.
Starting from the Charmies, I'm happy with Fuvalus. I would not add any other Charmies just because I like it because it's a starter. If we go in first, it's a starter with five spirits, right? Or it's a free discard for opening, so it's fine. And if you go in second and you drop the Charmy, it's good for two ways. Either because your opponent will go into a mid board rather than full board, or they will use their Ash Blossom to stop the Mulcharmy Fuvalus, right? And then this means that like if you have like of course you can do you have a good hand. It means that like your Branded Fusion will resolve. And remember, guys, we only need Branded Fusion to resolve to win the game. So yeah.
That's why I'm really
So
looking forward to if Branded Fusion ever goes back to two like Master Duel.
bro, that's my dream. I told you this, and like a contact fusion, that I will be the happiest man in the world.
um,
So regarding droplet, currently I agree with Mario. I guess I'm cutting droplet to two. Three sometimes was too heavy. Maybe like I ended up reshuffling back with Kit or discarding it to extend the combo over Entrops, or as a cause for rebellion. So with two, I think I'm fine now. Trust must my opinion, it must go to three. Like um, there are so many Fuvalos drop in the draw phase, Purulia, Meowls. Now a lot of players use Lancia against us, which is not that like it doesn't do that much,
it
but you need
really
to be aware of
doesn't.
it.
It does if they drop it on you when you're trying to board break them. I think that's what a lot of people don't
Exactly.
realize when it's good, because if you can't Mirror Jade to break a board, like you're in trouble, especially with a lot of builds dropping Guardian Chimera. So like that most people aren't doing that. Most
Yeah.
people are like dropping Lancia like when I'm going first, and in that situation
Hmm.
I could care less, frankly. Like
Exactly.
like I don't know. Maybe if they drop it on like Albion effect, I might be like whatever. But even then, that's why you know the Lubellion line is as good as it is. So I'm kind of
Exactly.
curious actually. What is your standard line here if you have like one Aluber or if you have like Aluber plus Cartesia? Because I'd assume the Aluber plus Cartesia line obviously is kind of like a Mirror Jade plus a lock, but like like why I like the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord is it just makes like the singular
Mhm.
Aluber combo very good. So I'm kind of like, what is the end board that you're usually going for?
So, like starting with Cartesia and Aluber, so for sure the one Mirror Jade, Grand lost. If lost, then depending of what we have in grave, it will be either set banishment or red. Of course, like depending if I'm going blind first, I would still prefer banishment rather than red because I think this meta there is a lot of dark decks and just the banishment line for Starving Venom is just super safe to do. Or like maybe it's Blue Eyes and you have Cowstars or Dragon, right? So you have a lot of option in the extra deck. So I think this is the safest. And as we were saying earlier, remember guys, we cannot do Garura because it's not a level 8. Um, and then, yeah, probably one Quem in rotation, of course, to maximize the interruption with Albus. And then, of course, like depending on how strong was the opening hand, it will be either like a full setup for the lock, right, or just Mirror Jet Turbo, like maximizing Mirror Jet using Quem and Cartesia, or maximizing like an interruption with Alpes in Gave, either with Rin Broom or Quem. So I kind of play hard with with our super poly effects, and it kind of pay off.
That's what a lot of people I think don't understand when it comes to maximizing like a layered endboard branded, that like Albaz is like arguably your best like interruption in my opinion that you have, because when
Yeah.
you have things like Rinbrum in rotation, it really can catch people off guard, just like, you know, when you let your opponent summon a few guys and then you just end up like summoning Albaz, making Chaos Star Source and just like blowing them out. It's usually like
Mhm.
if they board break you, if they hand trap you, if they called by you, it's like, okay, we still have like the Rinbrum play a lot of the time, plus like Mercurier,
Exactly.
which is like why Branded is so good into like, I mean, it's not board breaker format, but like you know, a lot of decks have board breaking capability at the moment between Malice, Mitsurugi, and Ryzeal. So like we can kind
Yeah.
of just withstand that a lot of the time because of how layered, you know, the things are, and a lot of that just has to do, I think, with the Renbrum play and with like things like Mercurier. So
Hmm.
you did mention about the Quem. There's been a lot of people running the double Quem. I feel like I feel like Quem is always just kind of that concession piece where it's like you don't need the second one, and like arguably running the one I think increases consistency. I see that you wanted to hit that pure
Yeah.
50, but did you ever miss the two, or would you ever consider going up to the two?
No, actually, no. Like Quem is one of my favorite cards, but when I hard draw Quem and then I don't have the hand to maximize the plays, I kind of feel bad. So I always prefer to bring Quem out of Grand Guignol or Quertis or whoever else, Titan, but I don't like to normal summon Quem and start the combo. So that's why I'm trying to cut it. And also two Cartesia for me it's enough so far. Maybe in future version I can try to play three, but the point is our normal summons are a lot, right? There are hands when you open Aluber, Albat Squam, or Aluber, Albat Cartesian, then you don't have any extender, like you don't have opening, you don't have high spirits, you don't have like any of the consistency cards like Foolish Buddha or Gold Sark. And then it's kind of hard, right? Because if you start with Quem and send Albats and just pray, this can be the best option, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, it
Maybe
sometimes
better
gets
to
you
go
there.
Aluber. Yeah,
But not all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. But another reason, like why I was playing three droplets, it's because I was planning to get tons of hand traps, right? So a lot of impermanence or whatever on a river. And then I kind of try to maximize the interaction between droplet, any Despia monster, and banishment as well. So because sometimes you hard draw your traps like banishment, and I won one game against Malice, and this was actually the winning strategy. Like it opened with Chessicat. I did droplet on Chessicat, and then on the next play, I just go banishment, bring back. It was, I don't remember, Quem or Aluber. Fusion away the two names, and then it was just game because he didn't have any other extenders. So that was my strategy.
Very nice, very nice. Also, guys, please let
Yeah,
me know down below in the chat if you guys have any questions for Marco and his list and Branded in
sure.
general. But
So another thing, guys,
yeah, no, go
if
on.
if I can,
Yeah.
so if you see the Jeev mech and the Ecclesia in my side deck, that's why, because I was expecting Mitsurugi, Malice, and a lot of Finsmiths. So that's why I was playing Jeev mech. Not necessarily for time, because for time we have Masquerade, which is way better than Jeev mech, but especially for Finsmiths, because once they go Requiem into Lacrima, you just drop the Jeev mech and then bring the Ecclesia from deck, and that's enough to say win the game against any Finsmith deck.
Yeah, like, was it good
But
for you
I
in
would cut it.
practice? Oh, you would cut it?
No, I
You would
would
cut it?
cut it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like, yeah, sure, it's fine, but I think sales ban would be much better. That's my meta call. I'm actually testing it.
No, that's cool. That's the Yuri Diaz goo. I've been seeing, and what's funny is like everyone's finally catching on. Like, because like Yuri, another really like goated branded player, like he's always been testing like Sal's ban on and off because he knows that card's good, and like now like that card's going up to $10 over here in the TCG. Like
Yeah,
it's it's having its moment because it's great going second, and then going first you just look at your hand and you're like, what do I lose to the most? That's the most
exactly,
common. And
exactly, Chris.
yeah, so
Yeah,
you
like
would you would
suppose
do
that
that? You
you
would put Salzban over the Ukas?
yes, definitely.
What
Like
would you be
I
calling?
find it. So that depends, right? So if you have trust, so like let me be more specific. I would cut also evenly match to play more copies of fusion duplication, as as you're doing right now, right? In some of the videos I saw it, perhaps.
You like that? You like that line? I think it's just too free with Ido, because if you have like thrust, you're just winning the game every single time because of duplication.
Exactly.
So
So suppose that you have sales band, right? And you lose only to I don't know. You lose only to, I mean, of course, if you lose to only to Ash, you just call sales band, you call Ash Blossom, or if you're playing against Malice, you of course call Dominus Impulse. But there can be some other strange hands where you have trust, or either you have fusion duplication, so you can accept to get stopped your branded fusion at the cost of not getting stopped by Droll or any other things, to keep setuping your graveyard to maximize the interruption during your opponent turn. Because most likely, guys, they don't, like, they know branded, everyone knows branded, but very few people knows how layered is our end board, because very few people know like all the resources that fusion duplication can generate for us during our opponent turn, right?
yep.
So yeah, that's fine. Like, that's why I think sales ban it's a good choice. Like, maybe yes, let's get ashed on banded fusion. Let's set up like another piece of back row that we need, that can be either fusion duplication or banishment or whatever you want. But then let's overextend being safe from draw, let's say, because there are some hands where you start with Aluber and you know that if you get Ash from branded fusion, then that's it. And you need to go through high spirits play, right? To set
Yes.
up maybe a Titan Engrave or a Ring Room. So maybe there, you just safely call Droll, and with Salesman, and then yes, let's get Ash on Branded Fusion, Trust, and then that's it. You do everything you would do, but in your opponent turn, and I think it's very solid.
No, that's very very well said, and I hope people are able to use that as a little bit of a guide to when they're looking at Salzban, as an
Mm-hmm.
option for branded. And I was definitely curious about the Uka, so I'm glad you addressed that. Because I was actually feeling like Uka might be an okay time option going second, like because we saw Vasilis run the Dogwoods. I ran Dogwood over the weekend. I thought it was good, but I never went to time because I was also locking. So like, I feel like when you're locking,
Exactly.
you don't go to time very often, which is a
No,
plus of the lock. I don't know.
exactly. There are some lines with fusion duplication where you play around all possible entrops, and then your opponent doesn't understand what's going on, and then in your turn, you just go into the lock, look at him, and say like, GG's.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's actually funny. Yeah, people will look. They'll look like they just saw a ghost essentially when you resolve when you
Yeah,
do a lot of
exactly.
stuff with fusion duplication. So that's very
Uh,
well said. Um,
yeah.
and
And then
and
I am reading from the chat, someone is asking about Alba Lenatus. I mean, this happened like, I mean, a couple of minutes ago, but I'm not running. I don't think Alba Lenatus is necessary for our strategy right now. Because yes, of course, at the very beginning you set Albas and then you fuse away the whole board of blue eyes. That's fine, but now everyone knows it. So as soon as like you set one, they will pop it. So I think what we need is Cowstar Source, because with Super Poly, you just fuse away two names and then you pop all the back row, and then that's enough.
it's the most game-winning play I've ever seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! Super
Yeah.
polying a blue eyes board in TCG into Chaos Star Source. Like
Yes,
it is, it's a sight to behold. So I think it's worth it on that
it
alone.
is.
And like I think Darwin, shout out to Darwin who topped UK Nats with or sorry UK Open
Yeah.
with Branded. He was on the side where he didn't run the Chaos Star Source because he didn't really
Hmm.
value the Blue Eyes matchup. But I think in especially a lot of these builds that aren't running Guardian Chimera and aren't running Borreload Furious Dragon
Hmm.
anymore, I think having the Chaos Star Source, just because there's not stun in the meta, I think that doesn't that doesn't mean we immediately cut our popping options. I think having the Chaos Star Source,
Yeah.
it's really good to have an option to pop like Chaos Star Source is why I go into mostly off of Albaz, especially when I'm running like one Mirror Jade or if I already have Mirror Jade on board. I think Chaos Star Source is just like one of the best like offensive things you can make with branded fusion, whether it's going second or as an end board piece or
It is.
layering it. So I just think it's staple for our extra deck now, even like outside of the Super Poly interaction. But maybe you can tell me like what did you ever consider running the Guardian Chimera or stuff like Borreload Furious, or did you just feel
Not
happy?
anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Do
Like
you know why
Garden
people?
Chimera requires.
Yeah, why are people
Sorry.
cutting? Why would you cut Guardian Chimera? I'm just curious about your mindset on that.
It requires so much resources. Like you need to, first of all, you need to have a valid name engraved, right? Which maybe if you have banishment, like or you can go like to any other line to maximize the interruption. Sometimes Chimera is not
Curious about your
is not
mindset.
the right play, especially against some decks, because you need to use three different names, right? That it can just might not be the case, or three names. Maybe it's better to keep them in rotation. So that's why I'm cutting it. And Bordered Furious, I was playing it when I was playing the Lad line, because like when Shifter was a tree, Borrowed Fusion and Lubellion, Cartesia, and whichever other strategy for bringing Lad, it was like just too strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I don't think I believe they're not needed anymore. Like there are better cards like running back Sanctifier, running Garura, running like Starving Venom. I think it pays more in terms of like overall state of the game.
And I like how you also did run the Quertus, and I don't see a Proskinion.
Yeah.
What led you to? Because we've been seeing like one of the currents with Branded recently has been Proskinion since I think like the
Hmm.
Mitsu Ryzeal variant came out, because people see that as a silver bullet when maybe you go normal summon a Luber and then like they imperm you and then you chain Super Poly and then you take their detonator with Proskinion. That's a dream
Yeah.
scenario, but I don't think it happens nearly enough maybe to like necessitate it being a staple, and we see you not running it. So did you miss the Proskidion? Did
Yeah.
you feel like that was something? Did you test
No.
with that at all?
No. Actually, like I had a lot of fun one night at locals, because with banishment, it went exactly as you said. Like I target a Uber and fuse away Detonator and the big Mitsurugi monsters, boss monster. That was super fun to bring Proskinion. But out of that, I think, like my personal and modest opinion, I think Quertis gives more values because first of all, it put pressure on your opponent. Because if they're not playing a fusion deck, they know that as long as it stays on the field, they cannot go into battle phase, right? Or if they go, they can go like into with less monsters than they have. And then I think in the grind game, it also puts some pressures because yeah, you can pop it like with I don't know Mitsurugi boss monster, like whatever else. But then the Quertis brings either Fuem, Albats, Aluber, right? And then this means like either getting back to your resources or like if you bring Albats, it means like going to Mirror Jet maybe in turn 4, which then it's kind of it's very strong. Like if Mirror Jet is still on the table and active, like at the late stage of the game, it's kind of like a winning condition to me.
Yeah, Mirror Jade's so good in a simplified board state because that card it extends you, builds your board, breaks the board, and I 100% like see why you're running the double Jade because like it'll come up in some grind game. So I understand that, and then that makes sense on the Perskinion. So I've been back and forth. Like we saw Vasilis run the Quertus plus Perskinion, but
Mhm.
then also we saw Mario opt to not run the Quertus and ran a Masquerade instead, which you're siding. I feel like there's a lot of permutations that overall work, but I do think like having that OTK option with Quertus and maybe even as an end board piece is definitely like valuable. It's just one of those things that makes me wish we had a 20 card extra deck. It's the meme with branded, but like maybe society
Then we will be
like it would be
unstoppable.
a perfect society if we had a 20 card extra deck.
Yeah, I mean, if I can be 100% honest with you guys, Dragos Tapelia never came out once, like never. In nine
Really?
games, I never use it, never.
Do
So
what would you cut that for if or would you ever consider cutting it?
so maybe I would do as I don't know, was it Mario that moved Masquerade to the main extra deck, right?
Yes.
I yeah, I think something like him. Like maybe we move Masquerade, we to free some one spot in the side deck. It could be good, or or the new what's it called? The new fusion monster that requires one spellcaster and one dragon, and then prevents the opponent to use dragon and spellcaster monsters. Um,
Floodgate Dragon. I forgot what it's
yeah,
called too. It's oh my
yeah. I mean,
gosh.
Dracotail will be real, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's funny is that card
So
comes out for I don't know about your I don't know about the EUW or the Euros, but it comes out for our NAWCQ that dragon without Dragon Tail being out. So we can run that as an option, but I'm not sure if that's like something we'll run until Dragon Tail comes out. Definitely once Dragon Tail comes out, like you said, we'll be running that card though because it's like very good on board into Dragon Tail. Like it says, what is it? Dragons can't activate their effects on like field and graveyard. I'm pretty sure something like that. I don't know. Um,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, let's see. Like Dracotail will be a big problem, guys. Dracotail and Yummy until like Banky Shokenai will be real. They will be like the best decks, I guess. So let's hope our supports will be strong enough to compensate.
Yeah, like and I think Dragon Tail is a viable engine with branded too, so I think people can look forward to that. I mean, I
It
also
is.
like I think pure branded is also fine too, but I see a lot of like if I see branded doing anything in the OCG right now, it's the Dragon Tail variant, so it might it's going to be interesting the effect it has on branded if it just ends up being Draco Tail branded going forward or not. I think Draco Tail does give branded like a lot better options going second in terms of engine board
It
breaking
does.
and
It does.
in engine board breaking is very good in that format. You see a lot of people in the OCG currently only maining like 6 to 9 hand traps because just having engine plays is a lot more valuable at the moment. Like, you know, if you're going against like Yummy, like having imperm isn't gonna do anything. So a lot of these, you know, and
Yeah,
I think that's like a perfect environment for branded, honestly, because we love having like if we don't have to run like 15 on engine, that's great. But you know, I
yeah.
think you know as long as we adjust the meta, that format should be fine. Have you
Mhm.
thought have you thought about that format at all for branded, like things we might have to adjust for, or are you kind of like are you gonna try out the Draco Tal branded variant? What do you think about that upcoming
I
Draco
I
Tal
I
format?
I think I think the fact that we can run bestials, it will be really helpful because you remove, so especially with Yummy, I guess if you start to remove cards from their graveyard, since all of them are light beasts, if I don't remember wrong, this help to stop their recursion. Um, then I think it will be a board breaker format because Yummy dies literally to Dark Lure no more, and running Dark Lure no more for us is free. Like we don't need to necessarily OTK. We just clear the whole. We wipe the whole board and then we lock the opponent, or
Yep.
we put like Lad. So I think Branded will be a solid option for the incoming months. That our problem so far, it's always the same. We need consistency, especially going first. That's why you see that I'm running Foolish Brutal and Gold Sark.
Just some of our best one card starters that I've seen some people actually opt to cut, which like yeah, they play into Droll, but also they are literally like they just say like get in a Luber or get to Branded Fusion. So and I think
Yeah,
Foolish plays under
exactly.
Droll too, so you know, I think there's a lot of value in those. Like Gold
Yeah.
Sark is one that like I play with Gold Sark at 2 in Master Duel. That card is like insane. Like that card feels better than a Luber in our deck for the most part. Like
Yes.
um
Yes.
so, and plus in a grind game, you get that card back. It actually somewhat comes up in some of these scenarios. So, you know, anything you can
Which is crazy.
do.
Like getting back your Mercurial, like it's
Yes,
you
yes.
know self-explanatory. What I would do personally from this decklist, and this is what I'm testing right now. Drop it to 2. 3 sometimes is too heavy. You don't want to see it that much sometimes, and you prefer to have like consistency to play through hand drops. I would definitely cut Magramut. It's not needed. So I think with 3 Saronir we're fine. And then I'm testing with either a build without Kit, which is kind of because Kit, like it's, I don't know. I love that card, but at the same time I hate it. I hate it.
Really?
It's another normal summon. Yeah, like it happened to me where I needed to make a choice. Sometimes which monster to normal summon, right? So suppose that you start with Cartesia Kit or an Aluber, or like some strange combination where you need to choose which way to go. Then yeah, but I think the point is Kit helps with recursion, especially with Branded Fusion at 1. So it's mandatory. And then I can consider cutting Super Poly to 2. So it will be the same list as you see before, without Magramut, without one Super Poly, and without one Droplet. And then I will move 3 Droll into the main deck.
Okay, that's interesting. So like, yeah, for people
Yeah.
wanting to looking for like, you know, adjustments. Yeah, I was actually enjoying Droll in the main deck personally, just, you know, it's a high spirit bridge.
Hmm.
That's interesting you were thinking about cutting the kit because, you know, I did see Mario not run the kit. He's not much of a kit believer. I feel like there's like certain hands where you just like kind of need kit in your deck, and if you don't have it, it's not you're kind of crying. But once again, like you said, it's like another normal summon that you can kind of just afford. Maybe not to run in favor of more consistency pieces, right? Because like you would rather see a gold sark maybe over that kit kind of thing or something. So,
Exactly.
you know, there's higher value cards, so that's interesting. I also had someone question the chat. Well, someone asked, or you know, the 15th side deck card was a third evenly matched, and then also someone asked
Hmm.
if the double Guignol actually came up.
Yes, like you need to play double Granguignon, like for sure. It's one. So if you're running the lock, it's mandatory, right? But then, like if even if you're not, it's just too strong. Like it's a bridge into Quem or into Quertis, it can set up your graveyard like for the grind game. Maybe you're able to recycle some of your names, like another Albion, or you recycle again Titan, or you just need you say, you know what, I just need one draw. I send off Garura, right? Or most of the time, like now you need to play against the effect of the Mitsurugi Bones monster to do Raigeki, right? And then with Granguignol, you can send Saronir, which can send like opening to protect. So you kind of need it.
Okay. No, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm very much on that agreement as well. If there are guys, let me know if there's any other questions for Marco in the chat. I also have to ask Marco, what would you mentioned it
Yeah.
before, but like what would you want to see out of the new branded support that we are potentially getting here with the new anime?
So, I mean, of course, before any support, guys, please give us back branded fusion, free branded fusion. Joking apart, I would love to see a fusion that mention Aluber so that it becomes a fusion deployment target. And then these can help us to minimize the problem of having too many normal summons, right? Of course, the best option I think will be a pseudo link one, like something that, okay, I got stuck here and there because of entraps, because of interruptions, and then I can just do a phantom Hubel like fusion where I shuffle back monsters to bring a new piece to extend. Or if they don't want to give us a new fusion, they need to give us like some free body. And I'm thinking about LZ of the White Forest, right? You pay the cost and then you special summon one monster for free.
Ooh, I like that.
So yeah, that would be great. Because yeah, Aluber gets stuck, get imperm, that's fine. We extend with, I don't know, the new monster that grab band fusion, and then we can keep continuing.
Now, yeah, no, that's kind of like I would like to see something like that too. I think a contact fuse that's just a bit better than Albalinatus that can get us, somewhere that maybe helps us in the grind game, helps us extend. Definitely
Yeah,
something great. Like I think also maybe getting a fusion that mentions like Quem or Aluber might be good for like fusion deployment purposes, and then like make it,
it
uh,
does.
maybe that could just be the contact fuse that we could reveal or whatever. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
something like that. Obviously our extra deck is already pretty tight, so I think if they're releasing any extra deck monsters, I think it has to be like a monster that kind of does like 3 effects kind of thing. Lots of
yes. It must
value in it.
mention the Fallen of Albas. It must mention it because then we can you know we can use better the kit. Who knows? So ideally, it's a level 8. So ideally, like the dream is a level 8 that mention Aluber or Quem, Fairy, and that mention the Fallen of Albas in grave. Because then it becomes a target for everything. Like you can use it as a target for fusion deployment, right? If it's a Fairy and you hard open two Aluber, one of them become target for Ice Spirits, right?
Oh,
So
I would love if it was a 2500 fairy that actually did something, dude. I've been waiting
yeah, yeah.
for a good for a good high spirits
Yeah.
target for a Luber or tragedy, because I just want to go tragedy pitch off of high spirits and just go plus 1,000. Please.
One time I was desperate and I was playing in the extra deck. How's it called? The Fusion level 8 from Melodius, I guess. No, from Shadow, which is the
Yeah,
fairy.
should all
And then
construct.
just to maximize, yeah, exactly, just to maximize, just to maximize the play for Ice Spirit. But of course, it doesn't pay.
Yes. I've seen like an OCG player who likes to do that sometimes, but I just feel like our extra deck
Yeah,
is a bit too tight, unfortunately, to run that kind of
it is.
luxury. Um,
Yeah. And then Chris, I don't know if you notice it, but I think we definitely need a card to recycle our names in later stage of the games. Because you arrive at a certain point where your graveyard is fully loaded, but your banishment zone as well. And you need to be able to recycle those names, especially from the banishment zone back to grave or back to deck or back to hand. Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard. Like maybe 2 Albats are there because you're going into really big grind game, especially against Malice. So yeah, that would be
Have,
the dream.
having an extender when a Luber is stopped is the only thing I ask for, says my man in the chat. Yeah, I think like if we got Verte back, that would do the job, but also if they don't want to like ruin the balance of the game and by bringing back Verte, they could always give Branded just quite literally in practice their own Verte where we could link off a Luber and resolve Branded Fusion with like a Bestial. I think that would change up deck building by a lot in the TCG because in the at the moment
Yeah,
in Master Duel, you can deck build around the fact that you can just Verte through hand traps. Like imperm is not as much of a concern in Master Duel as it is in TCG because of Verte, since you can just go, after you've been impermed on a Luber, you just go pitch Lubellion and make Verte, and then you get
yeah,
three interruptions off the Verte alone. And even into Max C, that's like totally fine. So,
yeah,
like that's what I personally want as someone who plays Master Duel is like our own Verte, but obviously they could just bring back Verte if they want to not print another card, but it would be nice to have a way to convert bodies like I dabbled with branded synchro a lot. I'm not too much of a fan of it ever since Baron and Napo and Puppet have been banned. I mean, mainly Baron and Puppet, I think,
yeah,
made the branded synchro variant a lot more viable, but that concept of like being able to convert your bodies in a way that you couldn't because of branded fusion is really nice. So yeah, something like that
yeah,
would
yeah.
is what I personally would like to see.
Yeah, me too. Like we need to. The point is, we need to have a card that does the job of, as you said, like it has 3 effects at least, because then we can cut the non-engine, right? So the engine, so we can play more non-engine that can be hand traps or they can be board breaker. Even though I don't like play hand traps in branded, like I really don't like. I'm playing Valos just to maximize just to stop the opponent, because sometimes like you need to stop him in some way. You cannot afford him to go full board. Droll, because this is a draw format. I'm also playing White Forest at Zamina, and when you get Droll, like it's tough. And also Mitsurugi, like there are some specific hands where you draw them and they pass with one monster is on field and that's it. Nothing else, or one negate, but one negate it's enough for us to bypass. So
Yeah, I think you need Droll. Like Droll's never felt better in branded in my opinion. Like I don't know, every time I resolve that card, it's putting in work, and yes, it does neg you, but like the fact like a lot of the time at my regional, I was just leaving my opponent on a detonator because I mulch armied them or I drolled them, and for
mhm.
branded, that's like simplified board states is branded players eat in that situation. Like you said, Mirror Jade is just like a monster with very little cards on the board. So like and the deck board breaks naturally, so it's able to out things with 1 to 2 cards with ease usually. So like I think
Yeah.
very 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 well said. Um
Yeah. And other touch options for the next formats, especially for Mitsurugi, Free, and Malice, it's the other Preda plant that requires 3 dark monsters. The big guy.
Yes, I know who
How's it
you're
called?
talking about. It's like triumvirate or something. It's
Yeah,
something.
some
It's like
strange name.
triplant.
Yeah. So I actually, it came out like during my testing against Malice, and guys, it was super fun. Like they ended up with the topologic and 2 names. You just go super poly and then you wipe the whole field, and then it's just too strong.
Yeah, I was
Or
gonna
even like the
say.
Mitsurugi matchup. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very good. Also, like, well, would you ever run the World Chalice, Super Poly target for Malice over
I
that,
never
or do you think?
considered it.
Yeah,
No, I prefer starting Venom because now that you make me remind it, you can use Starving Venom. So first of all, when it enters, it can target 1 special summon monsters and then copy the attack. Which, like one time, it saved me from how's it called, Archescott OTK, because Archescott become like 5300, and my Starving Venom was 5800, so that was higher. And then he cannot crush it, because remember, guys, that if in any way Starving Venom is destroyed, if it was fusion summoned, then it completely pops the opponent field and it pops special summon monsters, right? So it happens a couple of times that I use Starving Venom, like I go super poly, then I know that like it's not enough, so I crush my Starving Venom against like some big bodies, and then either I force some negate or like whatever, or I literally pop the whole field. So it's kind of like a third Mirror Jade, which put a lot of pressures, like in especially like when you're at game 3, right?
Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, no, that's actually very no, very good advice on that. Uh, yeah, no, for sure. And then also like Starving Venom, just the effect is good. Like it helps you OTK, which is just what you want going second, which is why I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think it's worth running. Like I think it like making Garura over Starving Venom, there's like a clear quality difference going second, I think. Um
It does, yeah. And then the middle effect of Starving Venom is that it can copy the effect of a special summon monsters level 5 or 6 or higher, Mitsurugi, right? You copy the Omni Negate. So basically you also get a Omni Negate in the same turn. So it's really viable.
oh yeah, wow, that is true too. That is true too.
Yeah.
uh
Or like the strangest interaction was like they steal my mirror jade with talent. I go into Super Poly, I bring Starving Venom, which became a 5800, and then I target my mirror jade on the opponent field to copy the effect to send one for cost and banish without targeting. That was just crazy.
oh my gosh, yeah. That'd be great. Even a hero can recycle 5 cards now. Yeah, yeah. I feel like one of our new like branded spell traps like just had a banish effect that could just like recycle like 5 cards in our graveyard or banishment. Like, I don't know. That'd just be like so premium. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, that just makes like retribution. I mean, like just bring them back to the deck. They don't have to go back to the hand, obviously. But just having
Yeah.
something would be really just so premium for the grind game. It would just be a good quality of life thing for the players who know how to really
Yeah.
um
Or like a
technical play.
fusion that mimics the effect of Shrine, like the for Tierl. That okay to fuse, like or which is basically Lubellion. Like it's a Lubellion without pitching, like another way to recycle. That's the main point for me. We need to recycle more than we actually doing.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. I mean, that's always like I think like also set aside like good and like or like veteran and like kind of newer branded players is your ability to like resource manage a lot because you'll see people who just like only run one branded in red and one band like someone was like wondering why I wasn't running double branded in red and someone might be wondering that with your build, but it's like when you know how to
Mhm.
grind properly you can usually address those things, but like if you just had a blanket option to help like just grind back those cards into your deck and keep playing like a lot of these modern decks do, it would help a lot even.
Yeah, yeah, it
um
does. So what's
yeah,
your opinion, Chris, on running double branded in red?
yeah, I mean, double branded in red is cool when I think you're running things like Guardian Chimera. Like when I run Guardian Chimera, I always am like, oh, I wish. Like whenever I run double branded in red, I want Guardian Chimera in my deck. I feel like I don't have like a good second
Yeah,
branded in red target when uh I don't have Guardian Chimera. So that's kind of like why that card isn't really at too much more in my list. I mean, I'm someone who's been kind of the last holdout on Chimera, but even now it's like the super poly targets that this format is necessitating is like taking out that slot for the most part. And now that we have Chaos Star Source, that card's
yeah,
just way more quality in terms of what you want to do. And we don't. It's not like we're running hand traps in branded for the most part outside of like Droll. So like in Master Duel, I value Guardian Chimera a bit more because you can just like literally draw Ash or Maxi in your branded deck off of Guardian Chimera's draws, which is actually kind of viable to just like go for the draw two
yeah,
against your
yeah.
opponent in the simplified board state because of that. So like without like better hand trap, like you don't want to draw Fuwalos off of your Guardian Chimera. So
No, no, no. No.
um
And that's why I'm also like speaking about drawing. That's why I'm running two Albion and not three. It's a 50 card build, and when I activate the Albion effects to mill one for cost, shuffle back, sorry, put back at the bottom of the deck to draw one, and you draw into another Albion. I just want to leave.
yeah,
So
it's basically a neg at that point. So
yeah, yeah. So that's why it's a 2. And to be fair, I never miss it 3. Like for me, running 3 Saronir and 2 Albion is the perfect ratio.
I actually I was testing your list for a while, and I did like the double
Mhm.
SAR and the double shrouded. That was something I was actually definitely a fan of, and I'm very, and I do appreciate how you were like, yeah, I'll probably take the droplets down to 2 like Mario did, because yeah, I just feel like I said in my deck profile, I just feel like Super Poly is a better card than Droplet, so I never want to see it as much as Super Poly, but also like it feels like you still need to run it. Like I saw Vasily's list not run Droplet, and I'm just not sure as like a brand, like I feel like that card is just like, so it's not free in Branded, but it goes very well into what you want to do with
It
Branded. So
does.
at least having it as an option to go like, at the regional, I at least 2 or 3 times I just went like normal summon a Luber, they went imperm, and I just droplet their board, and they lose on the spot because they lost their imperm and their 2 negates on
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
So I think it still has its place and stuff like that.
Yeah, or like one of the plays that I love the most is, I don't know, you have any normal spell, like say fusion deployment, chain 1, chain 2, either ice spirits or opening, chain 3, like this actually happened once, chain 3 Saronir target, because the target, when you're targeting with Saronir, even if it resolves, even if Saronir doesn't enters on the field, then it still vanishes, and then you go droplet. Super nice, super fun.
Yo, thank you for
Because
the
like you
raid.
maximize all possible. Super fun.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for the raid. We just got a raid for 40 people from YV Soul. I appreciate it. Thank you, YV. How
Hi
you
guys.
doing? Um, yes, we're right now interviewing Marco, who got top 32 with Branded Despia over at the Dutch Nationals, and we were just kind of discussing Branded and it, where it is in the meta. So yeah, we're a Yu-Gi-Oh channel and all that fun stuff. So appreciate the raid. Shout out to all the new people in the chat. Yeah, sorry for interrupting you, Marco. I just wanted to thank.
No, no worries. No worries. So then I remember someone was asking you, Chris, if it was worth to run Ash Blossom, right?
Yeah, I
Earlier.
do. I
Yeah,
I do get that question a lot, and I feel like it just literally comes down to how much like utility you can get out of it. I think in a format like TCG where there's only Molcharmy to really like Ash Blossom, and then when you look at Ash Blossom as a prospect as a card that you want going second, I don't think there's a lot of value in that. I don't think a single Ash Blossom is really going
exactly.
to do much. Like you need like, it's kind of like this has been said a million times by all your favorite like Yugi tubers, but like you need like kind of multiple hand traps in this kind of format to stop people a lot of the time, and that's why I feel like people are going to more of the floodgate hand traps, because you only need one of those a lot of the time instead of 2.
Yeah,
uh
exactly.
so without a thing like Max C in the format, I don't think Ash has really any place in Branded, and hasn't had really any place in Branded. Like I think when Branded first like Brand Fusion first came out, people were probably running Ash in there. I didn't play at the time, but I feel like there's probably enough main deck space to do it. But like ever since then, there's I think a reason why people have not been running Ash and Branded in the
Yeah,
TCG. There's just no real reason for it. For the most part, you can usually, the end boards have been, fine enough where you can use your board breakers, play into it. We're more recently getting to, I mean, obviously there's like FTK decks, and there's always been, that's always just like a factor, but now that we're getting more away from those things, I don't think, when Beatrice FTK was a thing, I think I made Ash Blossom in my deck, because I felt like you had to actually run like 12 hand traps in Branded. That was such a cursed format, because playing
yeah.
Branded, when you have no hand traps against the best deck, which can FTK, it was, I don't know why I participated in my nationals that year playing Branded, but hey, all I'm saying is my man Marat, shout out to Marat Ergany, he got top 16 with Branded that event, so he made it work. um
Yeah, it did. But so my personal take on Branded is that whenever the meta consolidates and there are those, I don't know, 2 to 3 to 4 best decks, like we can fit our board breakers and our, for instance, super poly targets, like to account for those decks, right? For instance, now we are playing Serving Venom, right? We are playing super poly. Maybe in the next format we cut down Super Poly to play, I don't know, Dark Ruler no more. So this is kind of the flexibility we can have. And I was also considering to play a blind going second version,
Really,
which is kind of
that's pretty
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw, but there was a blind going second branded player. I believe it was it YCS? I believe it was YCS. No, it wasn't Houston. It was Orlando. Shout out to Dapper Despia, but he was like the round 4 feature match. My man had a suit and like the coolest fedora ever on. He was really styling on everybody, and he was playing blind going second branded. And I actually got to talk to him the game before his feature match. It was hilarious. He came up to me. He was like, yo, I know I love your channel, and like I just wanted to tell you I'm here with blind going second branded. I was like, yo, that's the goo. And he ended up unfortunately queuing into Mermail, literally the worst
No.
matchup for that variant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
besides that, I think that variant has actually it's quite viable if you just don't queue into Mermail. Also have a good night, YV
That's the
Soul.
point. That's the point. Like, we don't have targets for mermaids, right? Like, the only one time I used Super Poly against Mermail was Albus with one of their monster with attack greater than 2500 to bring it like Titan, but that's it. Like, or if it's like I don't know, in a later stage of the combo, you can bring like Mirror Jade, but usually they won't let you arrive to that point.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's why like Mud Dragon kind of also not being, there's just not enough room for Mud Dragon sometimes hurts in some of these matchups, because Mud Dragon I think would be a pretty good super poly target there. But once again, it's like if they're hand ripping you, you're already not having a good time. So
exactly.
that's why I think like Droll, Fua very much just like kind of required cards in the branded main deck. And that can like I think like Droll 2, I was talking about this before, I don't think is the worst into Malice game 1. Like if you have to draw a Malice player, like they at least won't do their draw 5 and then you can deal with their end board with like a super poly in theory. So like obviously it's way
Yeah,
better for the
definitely.
Mitsurugi matchup though, because that card it forces them to end on a single Murakamo or a detonator if they're lucky. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And actually, it's interesting because now, so Malice player says, "Yo, yeah, we got Ignister. If you Lancia," I was like, it does nothing. That's not true. All the time I drop Lancia, they were passing with set 2 and one monster, if any. But the point is, when they go into the Ignister combo under Lancia, if you do Lancia draw, then it's super strong because they add and then they stop. You just stop there. You just stop them there. They cannot do much more. They cannot overextend, and they cannot add like other cards. They cannot use any other affected adds. So draw, it's viable also against Malice in some weird situation.
yeah, that's true too. And I mean, I think it just being a high spirits bridge also helps it just being more utility. Like that's just like higher quality cards. That's why like I'm very dubious on like maining Perulia sometimes, because it's just like not a high spirits bridge. But it worked out
Exactly.
for me. But it is like teach their own. I think like cards like Perulia can get dangerous in deck building, especially with branded when it's just like dead after game or like the first turn essentially. So
Mm.
I think there are probably higher quality cards to run, but I don't know. I have so much Mermaliga around me. I feel like I'm forced to run things like Perulia. Like,
Okay, that
yeah.
is different. So about Mermaid, like I was thinking, like so I'm modifying my side deck, and as I told you, I moved Droll to the main, remove Jit's mech, and remove Evenly for 2 fusion duplications, 3 sales bands, one Duster, 2 Lightning Storms, because I mean the back row now for the best deck is big. And then I was thinking to give a chance again to Diddy Crow because
Oh, DD
against Mermail,
Crow. Yeah.
yeah, because against Mermail, like which is one of our worst matchup, if they go like into something that send Dragoon to grave, and on the same chain you chain Diddy Crow and you banish the Dragoon, they cannot activate Dragoon. and this is kind of hard for them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good choice. I'm still testing around, but yeah, that is one card that I'm considering.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, it's a high spirits bridge. It is a dark for the allure formats, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
it is stuff to consider. And that actually brings me, I guess I should ask you about allure. Was that something you tested at all, or is that just an effect of just like Droll and Lockbird not or being in the format more?
I was testing it. I was testing a list very similar to Vasilis with both the Charmy and Allure. But I don't know. There were games where you need to open Allure, right? But and then you get drolled, and then that's it. So I prefer to get the consistency from again the two foolish burial and gold rather than allure. But I think as soon as droll will become like either a side deck card or like not that like it won't have that much space for the decks in the decks, then it's a solid option, of course. Like you go branded opening, tragedy, and then banish with allure, then you basically draw three. Super strong.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like it's kind of like a weird card into Droll. Like sometimes it's good, especially if you have like if you have opening, if you have like high spirits, it's like usually fine, but that's not always the case. So like I see why people are
Yeah,
definitely like cutting it, and things like
yeah.
that.
And I see in the chat that someone asked about Adlib. Um, it's I love playing Mirrorjet Turbo when you when you use Mirrorjet like 2 to 4 times per turn. But now if like let's suppose that like I'm playing again against Wet Forest and I got double Charmy plus Ash on Branded Fusion, then without the lock, and I would not win. If you substitute in this list, if you substitute the Adlim with the Ido, then it's not enough to me. Like it's yeah, it gives you back Mirror Jade. It gives you like some very nice interactions, but it's not enough. Like they're playing like I got in one game I got double Charmy one turn, then the next turn it dropped how's it called Meowls.
Mm, yeah.
This in two consecutive turns, right? So you need to lock it in that case. Otherwise, like it's just game. They draw too much.
That's actually a really good point where it just comes down to because a lot of people are like, lock is incorrect. And I feel like you're kind of taking a tool out of your like shed that you can use in those situations where like you are most likely just not gonna win if they like, double, triple charmy you, like I was kind of saying before. So yeah, like having that option is good. Whether like it's even in your side deck, even like I'm currently just siding it. But it's also something that I think is,
Yeah,
whether it's definitely a good option to have, whether you want to run it or not. Um, Titan
yeah.
Fit,
I
Branded.
mean, the lock is just so so there are I guess like in my let's say modest opinion, I saw many different branded players. There are the toxic players where especially when we had the gimmick puppet, they were just doing that. So basically, it's either the opponent sees any sort of graveyard interruptions like bestials, DD Crow, whatever, called by, or they just lock. And that was extremely toxic. But the power of the lock is that you do, suppose you go uninterrupted, like no interruptions, you do a very layered board where you force all the interruption that the opponent has, like board breakers like Droplet or whatever, on like Mirror Jade, Quem, Albats, and then once they're run out of resources, you lock them at the very end, not at the very beginning. This in an ideal, of course, in an ideal scenario. Then this layer of complexity reduces um, depending on how many entraps they fire at you. Because of again, like two Charmies, two Veilers, or like two Charmies, one Ash, one Veiler, like there is nothing you can do.
That's actually a really good point I was like thinking of the other day because yesterday when I was locking, the only time I ever actually locked when I wasn't under Molcharmy was like in like turn 3 or 4 or 5 where I was already grinding and like I finally was able to get to a Grand Guignol that wanted to send an Ido, but like it was never like I think if you're just like blind rushing the lock, you are probably playing Branded incorrectly. It should be much more of like
Yeah,
a layered interaction that you use into the situations where it is good. Or else you're just gonna lose to just like random called buys and just give up advantage that you would
exactly.
ever elsewise have. So that's actually a real
But this is the
that's a
same
really
for
good point.
LUD. This is the same for LUD. Like you suppose that you do exactly the same end board, but with the setup for going instead for the lock for LUD. Sometimes if you fire LUD like immediately, and your opponents are still like five, or maybe you made it draw one, like 6 cards in hand, then they can out LUD very easily.
Yes.
Like like I think running LUD is even more difficult than running the lock, because you really need to understand the right spot when to summon it. Otherwise, you just lose Lubellion and Albion, or whichever other names you're using, and then you lose you lose the LUD Omni negates. So
No, I think that's actually like that is a good point too. They both have their ups and downs on in terms of that because like with Lad, I think there's like sometimes like I like doing it when my opponent is on like a few cards in hand because they already hand trap me. That's where I think Lad is best, where like your opponent already hand trapped you like twice, and then they start their turn on like four cards, and then it's basically impossible with that math to like out the Lad and then
yeah,
also establish a
that's
board.
by definition. Like suppose they draw like I don't know, they have 2 cards in hand, then you go LUD, then that's it. Like you have as many negation as their card in hand, so they cannot out you unless they have like some really magic draw to out the LUD.
If you're not locking, you're behind. That's crazy, Magic Geek. uh, yeah, no, that's that covers a lot of really. Most decks run a
Yeah,
ton of three ofs unless your opponent's go draws one of each. You can run. You can just take the Fua challenge with your board and end up windowing ease. Anyways, oh, I think he was talking about something else. Yeah,
mm,
no, Magic Geek agreed. Most of the time I play, I forget I even play the lock, and the only times I shotgun the lock is at IDK how to play in the matchup, or if I was forced into the line through interruption or brick. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, once again, I just like, yeah, I think branded players. That's why I think like learning to play without the lock is actually kind of an important stepping stone for people because then they
exactly.
can like learn what else the deck does, and then you can come back, put in the lock, and be like, okay, now we know like how to play all aspects of the deck and stuff like that. Because when I first started with branded, I think like I picked up branded essentially when the gimmick puppet lock started. So like I was
Hmm.
very much
Hmm.
just like, wow, this is the best thing ever, and it was at the time. But I think like having the ability
Yeah,
to know the other what branded does outside of that is very important. I highly recommend like people checking out combos without that. I think that's I really like
yeah, of course.
a non-puppet video because of that. But that's also like it is once again I just completely disagree with the wholehearted sentiment of people being like, oh, like locking is incorrect or locking is like bad, when I think it's just like a good tool to have for branded. So
Of
yeah.
course, man. If you drop Dominus Impulse, the least I can give to you is a lock. The least.
Oh really?
I have, yeah, yeah. I really hate the card.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
My one friend who was raging out at the regional yesterday because he got just Dominus Impulse turboed the whole day on Live Twin. Like that card is insane. I would not doubt if we saw like Dominus Impulse maybe get hit one day because it is, and this is even as a branded player. I think it like a lot of decks are just gonna realize over time how good that card is into their deck, and the fact it doesn't turn you off from using the best attribute in the game, which is dark, is kind of
yeah.
crazy in my opinion.
Mm. In Malice, like it's a free card for Malice. Literally, it's I don't know. It's as if they're running an Ash Blossom. Like for them, it's free. So yeah. Sorry guys, I got emotional when we talk about Dominus Impulse.
I think that yeah, I mean I think that should probably that's probably a good cap on the conversation. I appreciate
Hmm.
you coming on, Marco, and spending your time going over your list and then also discussing Branded in general. This will be re-uploaded as a video for everybody to watch if they didn't catch the whole discussion, because I felt like there was a lot of really good tips and just like discussion points
Thank you.
uh for the format. So once
Uh,
again, do really appreciate it. Is there anywhere people can check out your stuff, Marco, or anything, any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
no, unfortunately, I will upload my list on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Um, and shout out, guys, shout out to Chris first. I've been watching his videos since years now. I also bought the spreadsheet, and you should support your community. So please support your favorite content creators. And then shout out to my friends in Amsterdam that just sent me a message where I was making fun of them, like say, "Oh, neither of us will make A2." So shout out to Milos, and yeah, thank you everyone, and thanks again, Chris, for inviting me.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Marco, and once again, it was a pleasure. We'll definitely have to have you back on in the future to talk more Branded once that new support comes out, and then we can compare what our what our thoughts or what our
Sure, sure,
predictions are. For
whenever
sure,
you
man.
want, brother.
All right, sounds good. I hope you have a great rest of your day and feel better, please.
Okay, bye guys, thank you.
Bye. All right, so that was Marco, guys. Shout out to Marco. That was a wonderful conversation on Branded. That was a high level conversation. That was a good branded cast, impromptu branded cast.